Right. So hello, Flux. Nice to have you on board.
Yes, thanks for having me.
All the way from Helsinki at NG's HQ. So we have a bunch of questions from the community, from actually various community parts. We have Russian, Spanish, we have French, English, and English obviously from a couple of Facebook pages, forums, YouTube, everywhere. So I've tried to gather as many questions as possible. So yeah, hope you're ready to answer some of these.
Yeah, I've been getting ready my entire day.
Oh, thinking about this moment. Right. So let's begin with the first question then. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How you came up working at NG? What you did before that? Do you enjoy working for No Man's Land as a community manager?
Yeah, in terms of my background, I guess so I was born in Poland, right? Some of the forum folks have noticed that I spoke Polish once and might have thought that it was a Google Translate, but it was actually my own knowledge. But yeah, I think I came to NG in June and it started around, I think, in March. So one of my best friends was basically working at for NML already, and the community manager position opened after Kaz left. So he basically recommended me. I had done community management twice before at like my master's university and at a company, like a service company before. But yeah, basically like my best friend recommended me at the time, and yeah, I applied, had gone through a bunch of interviews and ended up working here in June. And yeah, no, I enjoy working here a lot. Our team is very nice, very closely knit, so it's very fun developing a game.
Awesome. And you're like the face of the team that works behind the game, because you're kind of the guy that shares all the
Well, sure,
information.
yeah, sure. And I get to exercise my hobby, which is video, and that's really good too.
Nice, interesting. Wow, very big. I didn't know. I didn't know you speak Polish basically, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, as much as a 14-year-old does, because I did leave Poland after I turned 14. So,
Interesting. All right.
yeah.
So let's move on to some questions relating to the game. There have been many innovative features in No Man's Land over the last year. Is there something in the game that you personally had to really fight for to have it in the game? Was whether it was an idea from someone in the community or your own idea? For instance, Star Mission, maybe what else? Like some of the campaign, maybe, or some of the rewards. Like I don't know, something crazy.
Yeah, okay. This is actually a really cool question. Props to whoever asked it. But there's not that many features that we've had to, per se, fight for. Because, I mean, as a team, we agree on the fact that we should deliver, like, good features, things that people enjoy. But one that had, let's say, the most, how would I put it? Trouble in a way, you know, so Guild Wars, right? Guild Wars is that massive feature that, you know, has been there before, and we had to take it out, and then we had to get back into it, redesign it, and put it back into the game. And I think what's important to consider, especially in game development, is that you have a team of basically such different disciplines, right? Like I'm from communications and whatnot. We have analysts, we have live ops, programmers, UX, UI, and everyone has kind of like a different outlook on how, let's say, our development cycles or how the project is working. So Guild Wars is very tricky because, see, now I have no idea about how much it actually takes to program Guild Wars. You know, it's a big feature, and you know it takes a whole lot of server load, and so it took us some time to get it going because there were a lot of worries that if it overloads our servers again, or something as bad as round passes disappear again, something like that. You know, there's always that risk that something might fail, and with Guild Wars being such a huge feature, if it failed, then the impact would be quite big. So then we went around this quite a lot during like development cycles, where we had to talk it through and discuss like when is the best time to work on it, what are the best features to put in that would in a way address what the players have been saying about it, the problems, but also so that it doesn't crash our servers and basically, you know, ruin the player experience overall. So I think Guild Wars is that one feature that just, you know, was the most problematic. But overall, I think we got through that pretty well as a team.
Cool. Yeah, the Guild Wars looks really fun right now. I'm really enjoying it, digging into it.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of feedback about it as from the players, but I think overall it's a positive thing. That I think the main feedback is that players wanted to play more. Of course, there's bugs with, let's say, scoring and...
Metalheads needs to be nerfed. They're so OP.
Metalheads, I think they're like a good challenge to put in. You know, you don't face them very often.
Yeah, but they're hard. Like level 35 or 36, like it's crazy. They dodge bullets. Even your scouts can't even like properly damage them, because they can easily kill them with like one shot. And when you have like 3...
Wait, they don't dodge bullets though.
Well, they block, but they still
don't let bullets go through.
Yeah, it's still hard when you have spikies as well,
Yeah.
and they're like heavy.
But they're definitely hard. Though I think that the fact that you can stun them makes them pretty manageable. I'd say, when I play at least, like spiked are my worst enemies.
I love spikes, they're kind of fun.
You're a masochist then.
Right, let's move on to the next question. So can we have some synergy between the various different modes in the game? So for instance, being able to, I guess, earn more Guild War attacks from other game modes, and something that maybe helps the challenges by playing Guild Wars. I personally dislike that, because we had the Guild War gas, which you had to play distance and challenges, and that was annoying for me because it made me have to play challenges and distance. But now, when you're knowing that I don't need to play anything, I can just log in and attack straight away, it's so much better.
Yeah, like I totally understand where this question is coming from, but overall I think we'd like to stay away from that. Well, one, we want to keep Guild Wars kind of like the even playing ground that you know, has been well received as well. It's good that players are able to compete kind of on even terms. But another thing is that this kind of synergy between modes can backfire, right? Like, of course, there's players who like to play all kinds of modes in the game, but there's also those who, let's say, only play challenge or only want to play Guild Wars. And for those, we don't want to force them into like, hey, you entered the game, you have to play all of this. Like, it should be so that you can play what you want without being kind of pressured to, so you have to push really far in the challenges in order to get extra attacks for Guild Wars. That's not something that we'd like to do personally. And yeah, overall, I think there's a significant portion of our player base that might not enjoy that very much.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, Guild Wars is already kind of really like fun in a way. I mean, I feel like you don't need to intertwine it with other game modes, because just by itself it's like such a big thing. It's probably the biggest game mode in the whole game, like compared to distance and challenges, and it's so cooperative as well. It's exactly why it's like fun, and I guess more people also enjoy the fact that they don't need to push for resources so they can play Guild Wars as well. Yeah, and also, you don't...
I enjoy it.
So yeah, go.
No, I was just gonna say that I enjoy it a lot. Of course, like, I wasn't in the team back when the last Guild Wars ran, so I don't know how it was to sit down and go full on for 50 minutes, just like mission after mission after mission. But, you know, there were issues related to that anyway. But overall, I think that the mode right now, as it is, it's on a pretty good track. Addressing like the issues from the previous ones that we've looked at, and yeah, overall I think it's fun. The thing is, I've seen some feedback, for example, that people would like to play real-time PvP, and that's not exactly possible with NML. You know, the game itself was designed 4 years ago, almost 5, nearly. So like there's some limitations as to, you know, what we can do with network limitations and so on.
Yeah, okay. Right, let's move on to the next question. What's your A team? What's your favorite class as an A team?
Well,
who do you play with?
This isn't the hardest question because, you know, it's definitely Scout Daryl, Scout Rick, and Riot Gear Glenn. But I do like to play Alpha occasionally because I enjoy the extra move speed that you get after you body shot. So that always, because I am sometimes hasty in my missions, so like the Alpha gives me the safe space, you know, that if I do something really dumb, I might be able to still move back and keep myself safe. But yeah, like those 4 I think are my favorite. And well, one more. There's one more that is coming up that I think will be my favorite. But yeah, I guess that's something.
Oh, by the way, this video is gonna be released after that, so.
Right. So I have a feeling that Beta will be my favorite character in the game.
Yeah, me too. It looks interesting.
Just a feeling, yeah.
Right. Let's move on to the next question. When are you going to do a guild tour? Now, this is something interesting.
Yeah. I did promise this, and I would like to do it. So, I think it would be the easiest to do in the summertime. That's when, you know, the work is not as intense. And right now with Guild Wars in beta, there's constantly, you know, feedback to be analyzed, the updates that we're pushing. So summertime is when I usually have the most time to do this. And like, I need some time to, you know, push up my characters a little bit before I join the top guilds, because I don't want them to laugh at me now when I join them and do like, you know, 1,000 stars where they do like 3,000.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really like Guild War focused, because this Guild War is probably like most fun for me, because it's always a bit different. Like, you know, you always have to fight for it, and you know, it's a very big competitive group feature, and you know, it's always fun.
Yeah, no, I think the fact that you have to coordinate with your guild on this mode is really nice.
Yeah. Right, moving on to the next question. Will NG look at not having injuries that took in Guild Wars battles, not cross over into the challenge mode? So the same way that the distance is like a separate, essentially, injury situation?
Yeah. Let me think about this one. It's we have looked at it, first of all, like we've discussed it, and if we do that, then we'd probably go with distance type of healing overall. So basically it would mean that if your survivor gets injured during Guild Wars, then
he's only injured in Guild Wars.
Stays injured, yes. And I think overall that will come out to a negative. I'm not sure. That's something just like out of my own opinion, because I think if I played like with distance healing in Guild Wars, I would be down to my D team by like the 10th mission, and I don't know how it would play out, but I mean, it's something that we're kind of discussing. We haven't concluded on that yet, but you know, I gotta see which side is really better in on various aspects, you know, from a business perspective, for players, and as a mode in general. What makes it more fun? Do you like to be you know, limited gradually through your characters, or would you like to be able to play your A team throughout?
Okay, nice. Right, let's move on to the next question. So, are you planning to add more story missions? Obviously, we had chapter 15, which I still have not completed, coming out, and I think was it Vane or somebody said that it was the last chapter you guys are planning to do, essentially. Is that true?
Yes. That is true, and so the answer to the question is no, we will not be doing any more story missions.
Right, moving on to the next question.
yeah, easy question, that was easy.
Right, will we ever see a PvP mode but in real actual time? I know that this provides a lot of limitations and technical difficulties. I know some games have it, but usually games that have it are essentially built for that specific thing. I know NML is kind of built more on like, you know, other things that is not really relating to actual PvP. Real-time PvP, you know, not like Outpost or Guild War PvP.
Yeah, so like as I just said earlier, no, like 90%, 90, I can't, okay, don't quote me on that percentage. It's a no, basically. Like, basically on our server limitations is already very risky. Like Guild Wars is kind of at the borderline of that. You know, real-time PvP will require a lot more from it. So I can't speak from a technical side, obviously, because I'm not a technician myself, but yeah, it's unlikely.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I personally want to see some more interesting things than that, I feel like, for me. But anyway, let's move on to the next question. Do you think we're ever going to be able to share resources with group mates? Right, I mean, right now you can buy guild gifts, which essentially give people resources in a way, but you have to pay them. It's not like a resource to resource exchange, I guess, I don't know. Like maybe like a marketplace for groups, something like that.
Yeah, so this is something that we've discussed, and like NML being such a community-focused game and, you know, guild-focused game, I think it is something that we're definitely considering. So it's not anywhere in our immediate roadmap, right? So it's not going to be in the next update or anything like that, but we want to explore this kind of like sharing economy where you could, I don't know, gift things to other players, or maybe bundles that have a shared benefit to like your guildmate or something like that. But you know, it's all very much up in the air and nothing concrete yet, but it is something that we want to explore, yes.
Interesting. Okay, nice. Next question, in Guild Wars, how do you know what survivors are on the defense? Because you never see which one of your survivors are on defense.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a mix. Currently, the way it works now isn't necessarily how we want it to work in the future. So for example, I think I've said this on the forum, that I would like to see you being able to choose survivors. And then, you know, we of course had that debate that everyone would pick Carl or Dwight on your defense, something like that. So then, yeah, we'll have to work around it, but I would definitely want a more manual process to selecting your defense. But right now it's based on, you know, your stars and your survivor level. Like a combination of two, and if it's a hero, then it takes priority over a normal survivor. So yeah. Although I've seen some cases where it might not necessarily work like that, bugs basically. And yeah, so that's how it works currently.
Okay, yeah. Well, so there's always room for improvements. I mean, Guild Wars is still like a small, it's not fully polished, it's still in beta, we still have a lot of...
Well, yeah, keep in mind, this is the first part of the beta, like we just pushed it out with this, and then there's gonna be more changes coming along.
Cool, nice. Right, so next question, will we be able to choose our own group time for battle starts? And also, if this is a beta test, and if this beta test goes to bust, like, would you scrap Guild Wars completely and start from the drawing board? Or, I mean, obviously this is kind of not a... I mean, this Guild Wars format works quite fine so far. It doesn't feel like you're gonna go back to the drawing board. It feels like you're just gonna keep on improving on it.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, good question, first of all. And one, no, you won't be able to choose what time the battle starts, because the battles need to start at the same time for you and your opponent, so that's not really possible. And the reason that the times are as they are now is because we want to make sure that, you know, we're in the office when the battle starts, so when issues occur we can start dealing with them. If, for example, we started it in the middle of the night and issues come up, then nobody's there to attend to that. So that's the one point. And then yeah, as you said, it's not a bust so far, right? Like, so our initial approach was that, you know, with these design changes, we're trying to mitigate the issues from the server end and the player experience end. So I think so far with these 2 wars that we've gone through, we have mitigated that. So it's, as you said, we're gonna keep on improving that. But I guess this question was coming from a time like before this, where we were a bit more uncertain of how Guild Wars will go. And the answer is that if it was a bust, we would not have gone to the drawing board. We'd probably just scrap the feature overall. But it's working. That basically doesn't matter. We're not gonna scrap it because it's working, and we're gonna keep improving on it.
Cool. Right. Next question is: Are we gonna be able to choose who gets treated first in the hospital?
Yeah.
The order in the way survivors are treated.
Yeah, I remember this. This is something that we've discussed before, and it's a relatively small change, but it requires, you know, coding. It requires UI work into it. So the solution that we went for was the extra hospital bed.
Okay.
And we're likely not going to introduce a feature that you can change the order, because of course, like, we want players to be able to play, but we, like, the gold spend, as many of the players understand, it's something that players should do on some level. And if players were able to order heroes around, then, you know, I would always put my Scout Daryl, Scout Rick, and RGG to heal first, and then keep playing them. And that's not exactly what we want to, you know, go for.
Yeah, get it. Yeah, it's a good point. Obviously, I'm somebody that always uses golds when I need to heal my survivors, because I think this is like the best way to spend your gold is basically to heal, and to open end mission crates, especially when there's like there was the jackpot weekend with 15 gold crates, and just go open them when you have so many jackpots. You just wanna get everything, especially when you're farming XP.
And if you think about it, right, like, if one of the survivor that you want to heal is not first, you can take the 25 gold that you pay to heal him completely is basically like ordering it, prioritizing that survivor to be healed first and immediately for like a small price. But just the perspective.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from healing. Let's go to something more interesting than just healing survivors. Let's see how we kill survivors.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, which is the next question? Can we get a better system for when changing characters, when choosing survivors? For instance, move a hero from second place to a leader place without having to swap. I know personally this is gonna be an amazing quality of life change, because now I have to go click on there, then come back, instead of just swapping the ones already. Like, it's especially for leader trait positions, you know, it's a bit hard and annoying.
Yeah. Well, this is another one of the stretch goals, right? It is cumbersome. Like when I play as well, switching between characters, it can be quite annoying. So it is something that we'd like to improve at some point. I can't say when though. And, you know, of course we have to figure out how we would do it, how it would work the best, the UI for it, and then the code. So, you know, it just takes some time. And, you know, hopefully we'll do it eventually. I can't promise that though.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Right. Next question. Is it possible for guild leaders to remove players who have signed up for battles? This is something that must happen, because there are people that sign up and don't do the battles, even though it's 22 hours, but they're just wasting the spot, and basically you're making your guild lose on points and rewards.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of feedback on this. Most players do want the feature that the leaders should be able to move players around. Now, I can't say that it is something we'll put in. It is feedback that we've taken in, and basically with some issues, the way it works for us is that we don't always take the issue at face value, right? We see what the problem is and try to ideate on different ways that we could target this, because of course, like, there are negatives to having, let's say, a leader move around people. It's more of a collaborative effort, and well, basically, like, all I can say is that we're not discarding this as a feature, but we're also looking at different ways that we could address the problem that exists already. But how we'll address that, I'm not sure. We'll have to discuss, obviously. But yeah, I totally understand the sentiment, and I think we should do something about it.
All right. Next question. Would it be possible to see information about survivors' abilities, damage and defense, as well as equipment traits on them during the actual mission? So, you know, when you have for instance, you have the survivors that you see, then you can click on the survivor, you can click on the weapon and just see the traits, maybe even the damage of it, you know?
Yeah, so possibly, right? This is definitely like a viable thing. It depends on if there is a kind of like a demand for it. Well, one, I think that this kind of change would definitely help newer players in understanding the game, because oftentimes you might forget what you're wearing or what traits it had. So yeah, like, having this feature would probably be quite possible, and it might be in the game at some point. It's just a matter of knowing how badly people want it, because there's of course a lot of possible quality of life changes that we can put into the game, but all of them take time. So which one is the one that you know, players need or want the most? And also it's a matter of who we want to focus on. So, like, for example, Guild Wars, it's a very high level feature, right? Like, you can only play it after level 12, and the players who are at the end game are way more engaged in it. And like, if a feature like this, for example, you know, displaying combat info inside a mission, we could maybe help newer players understand the game. Older players would also benefit from it. So overall, I think it sounds like a very nice addition. But yeah, again, it's based on what is the most urgent quality of life improvement that players would want is kind of what we'd like to consider.
Okay. Nice. Right. Let's move on. So we have how long have you been playing NML for? What's your survival levels? I guess cancel level. What's your highest like RSL that you can complete? Essentially, did you play NML before you worked for NG?
Yeah, so I started playing NML when I started applying, right? But I started applying around March, so yeah, almost a year now, 9 months, 10 months or so. And I am level 69 player level, and nice. My survivors are ranging from 16 to 24. Well, 24 is my max, but I have a bunch that I just don't upgrade.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Who's the one hero/villain, past and the present in the show, that you would like to see in the game? Are you first of all a fan of The Walking Dead? Do you watch The Walking Dead as well, or?
Yeah, I watched The Walking Dead, and well, the one hero, so he's already in the game, but I would like him to be buffed, and that is Negan. Negan is probably my favorite character in the show, and would love him to be a stronger bruiser, perhaps strongest bruiser, but you know, we'll see what we do with that. But he's just such an iconic character in the show, and he's really hilarious sometimes, so
cool.
It would be nice.
Right, was it eventually for a new approach considered to land in the game Shiva or a dog? Oh, that's the one when you appeared in Our World as the tiger in one of the videos.
Yeah, probably not all of the NML folks have seen that one. But yeah, I made a cameo in a tiger costume in an Our World video once.
So are we gonna see you as a hero in the game in No Man's Land?
Hey, I've been pitching that for you know, since I first seen it photoshopped on the forum. But yeah, no, apparently I need to be a character in AMC's shows first.
Well, yeah. Special
Jokes, by the way. That wasn't an actual thing that they requested.
Oh, what, people or what? Who?
No, I mean from AMC.
Well, yeah, we'll never know. Right, moving on, let's talk about basically what happens to groups who don't have 20 members in terms of battle. Will groups with less people be at a disadvantage? Obviously, this question was asked before the change where we can play with 3 people now, but essentially, people would be a disadvantage, I guess, when you play with 3 people compared to 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the idea is that yes, if you're not a 20-person guild, you will lose out to a 20-person guild. If a guild has put in the effort to recruit good people and, you know, filled out their guild and makes the effort to coordinate for guild wars, then they should be rewarded as such, you know. But also, we've heard a lot of feedback, and we understand that there's a lot of guilds that might not be 20, and even those that have 20 have, you know, members who might not show up or not play guild wars at all. So yeah, like we've heard some really cool ideas. The whole, for example, I think it was 10 players playing, but you know, there's a lot of different options that we need to consider, and you know, we'll just see, because of course when we start to play around with the number of people that can play in guild wars, then we start getting closer to the, you know, how it was in the first guild wars, where I think, was it 10 people? Yeah, 10 people that could play at the same time from one guild, and you know, that can put quite a strain on our servers.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next question. With all the guild families that there are, is there going to be a way to connect multiple groups? Let's say if you have alliances. Essentially, I feel like I've seen other games what they have a bookmark options where you can bookmark all the groups and instantly see them and see everything, the members and everything instantly. So something like this, maybe, I don't know, something.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, this is a tough one, because like, there are many guild families, and I love that the fact that these guilds have formed these alliances, but I don't know if we're gonna be putting anything in the game to support that per se. So like, instead, alongside guilds having, let's say, alliances or families inside the game, it's very difficult, because yeah, there's a lot of code, a lot of UI that goes into it, a lot of considerations as well. So it depends on whether it's urgent enough for us to take that time and that effort from other projects to work on this. And because NML is now 5 years old, then a lot of the guild families have figured out their own ways to communicate and coordinate. So then it's not, let's say, not for it to sound bad, but it's not a super urgent thing for us to figure out.
Yeah, get it. Cool. Next question. Will you ever be able to reroll traits on gear the same way we have the reroll tokens on survivor traits?
Probably not, because if you could reroll gear traits and there's only 3 traits on a piece of gear, then it's rather easy to get, you know, the perfect one, and then you can kind of keep it. So yeah, no, overall, yeah. And then again, it requires code, UI, and there's no significant impact on like the players who, for example, got a lot of the good gear, you know, have worked to attain the perfect traits on gear, and it also doesn't impact our side that much.
And also you can like use reinforcement tokens and keep the gear with the good traits and keep upgrading them with tokens, you know. It's still something that really kind of works and essentially kind of removes the need of having to reroll traits. One question though, do you think we're ever gonna maybe add like elite gear, like pink gear, you know, like with 4 traits maybe, like you have 1 silver and 3 gold or something like that, something crazy, something new.
4 traits. We've thrown around the idea of, for example, having gear with 3 gold traits, which would be another rarity, let's say, based on games like Mythical or something like that. But nothing that we've decided concretely yet. It is something that's possible. I don't know about the 4 traits thing though. 4 traits, because you know, like the whole issue with adding these things that make players stronger is that they're able to push really far, right? And you know, at some point it's gonna get like the grind, right? The grind that happens when you can go on forever in like the challenge, guild wars, distance, and so on. So this is just a consideration, but it is something that we're looking into.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Right. Next question is, when will burns be removed when using spears on burning walkers? I actually don't know exactly what the question refers to because I'm not sure what the issue is here. Maybe you know better.
I totally do. Every month I get at least like 1-2 PMs about this on the forum, so I think the question is basically asking about, you know, when you hit a burning walker with a spear from 2 spaces away, you still get burning damage, and it doesn't make sense in real life because you're standing far away. But I don't think we need to make the spear any stronger, so it's unlikely that we're gonna remove burning damage from the spear. Plus, it doesn't exactly work like that in the code, because the spear, even though it's 2 spaces, it's a melee weapon, and melee weapons will receive that fire damage back. And there's a whole, you know, change in the code that we'd have to implement for this to even work, and that would only make one of the strongest weapons even stronger.
Yeah, okay, I get it. So will we be ever able to use those lower rarity badges to try and craft some higher rarity ones?
This was an interesting question. It's something that we've not really discussed in very much detail, and I can't really say, but we're looking into simplifying the badge system first. Like, I know that some of the guys on the forum have figured out the pattern that you know, comes with badge crafting, but we'd also like it to be a bit more accessible to players who first unlock the craftsman building and, you know, start crafting, so that you can actually collect components and fragments with intent, so that you know what you want to build and how you're gonna build it. So yeah, like simplification to the badge system is basically higher on our priority than dealing with the low rarity ones.
Cool. Alright, these are all the questions we have, but I really want to ask a big question about the distance, and this is essentially like a revamp of the distance. So instead of right now being a personal thing where you have 21 maps and you need to complete them, why don't you make it 50 maps, but it's the same map screen that the whole group sees, and each member has a certain amount of attacks that they can do, and it's like a big group push, and then the walkers, because obviously it's going to get super difficult, but then you have 20 people that compete in it, and then the walkers that you kill, for instance, the tank and the the heavies and the spikies and all the big ones, when you kill them and you fail that mission, the walkers are still killed, so whoever goes after, they can keep pushing forward to already what was cleared. So and essentially the rewards is something that everyone in the group claims still, because it's still the same thing. Everyone claims the same rewards right now, but it's just more personal. But maybe the distance in a more cooperative mode is, let's say, again, 7 days again. 7 days, you know, maybe no reset, because you're gonna have a lot more maps, so 50 maps instead of 21 maybe, for instance, or 40 maps. No reset, but it's like a big group ladder, let's say, like a ladder mission place, essentially.
No, it's definitely a cool idea, and like,
write it down.
No, I mean, so I think in this scenario, now that we have Guild Wars, adding kind of like a mode with, where it's cooperative and everyone has like a limited amount of attacks, it kind of pressures people to use up those attacks, right? And now that if we have Guild Wars and then we have this kind of new distance, and you're pressured to use up your attacks and sign up for battles in both modes, and then you also need to do the challenge, it's also risky in the sense that it might increase the, let's say, burnout, right? That if I'm really pressured to use up all my attacks in the distance, because there are weeks where players might play less distance, or some weeks they play more, but it's kind of like their choice. So it's not something that is necessarily out of the question. Like improving distance and also scavenge, like as two different game modes, is something that we'd like to do at some point, but we just don't know how. But the suggestion is valuable. I think we could expanding it to 50 missions and making it more of a roadmap, so not something you necessarily finish, right? Because distance implies that you have to go the distance, and the distance,
it's a never-ending scenario.
Yeah,
but also
in a way.
But also you can always make it like, let's say 2 weeks. If you make it this way, like with the group thingy, you can always make it more, so people have a lot more time and they don't feel like pressured. I don't know, we'll see. I mean, it's a big idea because it's not something that you can easily code into. It still has to probably recode a lot of stuff about the game mode and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously the Guild Wars is gonna be probably the focus this year. And obviously now, because it's the show season, you need to put the show content, and then next update you can focus on actual Guild Wars stuff. Yeah. So
Exactly.
We'll see what the future
Exactly,
holds.
like we do have to focus on Guild Wars, since like we're pushing it out. And for those who, I think after this update comes out, there might be a number of players who could be confused about why there are no changes to Guild Wars in this update. So it's just something.
Oh, sorry,
like
you mean the update
address.
is already out, but you think why people are because this is coming
Yeah,
out.
so at the time of this video, right, update is out, but as you guys noticed, there's no Guild Wars changes in them. And that's mainly because Guild Wars beta was running during the time in which we were developing this update. So we couldn't just quickly take this feedback and start making the changes, because we had to wait, right? We had to wait after at least one war ended. 2 wars gives us even more information. So next update will be more Guild Wars focused, but for this one there was a bunch of content that we wanted to push out first.
Okay. Yeah, final question about new hero beta. What's the I mean, he already looks OP. I mean, he looks OP just from his leader trait, to be able to control walkers in a way. And that would be quite interesting if you're fighting human enemies, I guess, because the walkers are gonna fight the other enemies, right? And then it's gonna just make everything really more interesting, especially with Guild Wars. I mean, how did you guys come up with this kind of trait? Obviously the Whisperers are supposed to have some ability like this, especially Beta, who's like a master walker, what's the word? Controller,
Like
I guess,
shepherd.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's like a shepherd for the Yeah, no, I mean, it is exactly as you said. Like Beta in the show, he's really good at collecting Alpha's horde, right? They constantly collect walkers and amass like a huge horde. And so we tried to think of ways to, stay true to that. Make sure that, Beta is what he is in the show, like a badass, really cruel, and questionable ethics and morals and whatnot, but a badass. And so the herd effect and the whole kind of controlling the walkers is I think there might be a number of people who thought that Beta might be a scout, for example. And
I wanted to be a scout. I hate warriors.
But then, yeah, so one, we wanted to bring some more power to warriors, and also just, I mean, imagine if Beta was a scout, then that's a bit, I don't think we need another super strong scout, is the main thing. And yeah, like, of course, we cannot really predict exactly how everyone will use Beta, especially the super top players, because that's just, you know, nobody, I can't play like Stelio does, right? But it would be really interesting to see how people use it. And of course, you know, if something is wrong, or maybe he turns out too strong, we'll deal with that then. But I think we the fact that he is a warrior is you know, a limiting factor in the way that he has less move speed, right? So sometimes when you try to control walkers, you will have to choose between, like, do I just wanna run through walkers and call them somewhere, or do I wanna attack? Because sometimes you will have to trade off one for the other, and it will hopefully be a bit more strategic. And damaging the walkers does take off the herd effect.
But
So
who's
then,
damaging
you
the
know,
walkers? The other walkers, or if you have human enemies, for instance?
So with any, like, damage, basically, like, so, but fire doesn't count. It needs to be damage from you. So I actually need to double check this, because I can't give you a 100% answer on how whisperers were handling them. But overall, for example, fire damage will not affect the herd status, because it's technically fire damage and it's not coming from you.
Okay.
Yeah. But like Overwatch, Revenge, things like that will break it.
Also, the good thing is that even if he's in the leader position, you have if you have Scout Rick and Scout Daryl, who are like having a long distance run, they still get the ability the same as Beta, in a way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Like that is true. And but the trade-off here is also that there will be some scenarios where you could manage a path that lures all the walkers, but it's not that common. You know, like sometimes you'll run into a bunch of walkers at the end and you don't really want to do that. So you can't just mindlessly lure walkers, because there's also threat, right? Like more walkers will come if you keep just running around and goofing around with them. But yeah, so we'll see how people figure it out strategically.
But Daryl has the pro leader, the pro trait as well. When walkers don't attack him, now he's able to actually turn them as well. That's gonna make him OP as well.
Yeah. So with Daryl, it will be that he attacks so his attack overrides the herded effect. So the first walker that gets attacked is not herded, but the rest does.
Yeah, I guess there's that as well. Yeah. I guess he's gonna have to play around and see when people get Beta. It's gonna be quite interesting. I personally am excited about it. I want to unlock him, but obviously we have to complete the campaign and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for Beta as well. Like I've played around with him on our own builds, and it's a lot of fun, for sure.
Yeah. Right. There you go. So thank you for joining us today. And on this interview, we did answer quite a few questions.
No
Do you have
worries.
any
Thanks for
final
collecting the
words to say
questions
to
and-
people, to anybody?
Oh, anybody? Well, I'd like to thank my mom. And no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, thank you for collecting the questions, getting this initiative going. Of course, like I'd like to be as communicative as possible. So this gives our players more transparency on what's going on with the game, what's coming, and what is our process behind figuring out what to put into the game. But it's not always easy to communicate that everywhere. Like there's places where not everyone will see it, and so on. So this is really nice, basically. So thank you.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll do another interview later. Maybe, I don't know, in future. We'll see.
Yeah, when Guild Wars is in full swing.
Yeah, maybe we should even guild war together. Anyway,
Yeah, sure.
that's it for now. Yeah, hopefully everything goes well with the updates, with the content you guys want to put out. Looking forward to what 2020 you guys have in store for us, and yeah, we'll see you around the forums.
All right, man. See you. Thank you very much.